There is just dance after event after comet after soiree. It's constant. Hi guys, it's Sarah. Welcome back to another video here on my channel. We're jumping back into the Vampire Diaries today. We're heading into the second half of season 1. It's a lot. We got some new characters. So if you thought we had a lot of characters, a lot of plot lines in the first half, get prepared because here they come. Okay, so episode 7 opens with Stefan and Elena. She's just come back from her trip with Damon. So they're talking kind of about all of that, and she's kind of telling him about the car crash. And she's like, "Who was that guy?" And he's like, "I don't know, but here's all of this for Vane, for all your loved ones. I want you to give it to all your friends, Aunt Jenna, Jeremy, everybody needs Vervain. There's vampires on the loose. There's got to be Vervain in the humans." And she's like, "Oh my God, thank you so much." She also says, like, "Wow, this is so much to remember," when he's telling her about the vervain. And I'm like, girl, this is like the third, fourth, maybe fifth time we've been told that vervain stops compulsion and keeps you from being controlled. I don't know why you can't remember that. Someone delivers pizza to the house, and Jeremy's like, "Oh, let me go grab the money. Come on inside." The guy comes inside. Mistake number one. When Elena comes down and gets the pizza, he's like, "Oh my God, you have a nice night." And he leaves and he puts a hood up. And if you'll remember, Car Crash Man had a hood. So we know it's the same guy. Elena does not know that, but we know that. And now he's been invited into the house. Danger. So then at school, Rick gives Jeremy extra credit for the paper that he needed to write. And he's like, "You don't really believe in the vampire stuff, do you?" And Jeremy's like, "No, but I'm glad you like the story." And Rick is like, "Can I read that journal? I would love to read that journal." And Jeremy's like, "Absolutely, here you go." And he just gives it to him. And Rick is like, score. Elena tells Caroline to go for Matt, and Caroline's kind of like, "But he's still in love with you." And Elena's like, "Yeah, but I'm with Stefan, so he has to move on. You guys should go for it." And Caroline's like, "You don't seem to understand that the world revolves around you, Elena, and this is never going to work with me and Matt because I'm not you." At the grill, Matt is signing up for work because Vicky is gone and his mom is also gone, we know. So Matt is picking up a job to help make money to take care of his house because he is all alone in a big blue house and his mom is gone. And we don't know where his mom is. And he meets a new guy at the grill named Ben, who's like a cute, older, graduated, old football player. And he's like back in town. And Matt's like, "Oh my God, it's so good that you're here." Bonnie is about that life with Ben. She is flirty McFlirt with Ben. When Damon comes into the grill and tries to like be friends with Bonnie, which again, I love Bonnie and Damon's friendship. She's like, "You literally tried to kill me." And he's like, "I am apologizing to you. Why can't that be enough, little Bennett?" And she's like, "Leave me alone." And then Ben, the new guy, rolls up and he's like, "Is something wrong here? What's going on?" And Damon's like, "Everything's great." And he's like, "I wasn't talking to you. Leave." And then he flirts with Bonnie after that. Car guy calls Elena while she's walking to her car from the grill. And he's like, "Hi, Elena." And she's like, "Hello, do I know you?" And he's like, "It's me. You won't get away again." And she's like, "Ah." She like frantically gets in her car, but he's like behind her on the street listening. And he's a vampire. So he's absolutely just playing with her because he could have like flash stepped over to the car and just snapped her little human neck in a second, but he didn't. So he likes to play with his food just like Damon, which we know is a problem. So he makes us nervous. Jenna and Elena finally have a good talk about the whole Elena being secretly adopted thing, and it goes relatively well. And Jenna is like, "Your mom was supposed to tell you, but then obviously she died, so I never thought I was going to have to tell you, so that's why I haven't told you yet. All I know is that one night your dad was at work," because Elena's dad's a doctor, if we haven't talked about that yet. "He was at work, and right before close, a 16-year-old rocked up to the house and was like, 'Hello, I'm giving birth.'" And he was like, "Oh my God." Okay, he helped her give birth, and then she dipped. So she fled, and they had a baby, and the Gilberts were, like, wanting to have a baby, so they were like, "We'll keep the baby." And they did, and they got away with it. I've never fully understood that. Jenna makes it sound like they hushed it up, and it wasn't that big of a deal, but if the prominent family doctor in town just has a baby all of a sudden, this feels like the kinda town where people are gonna talk about that. Stefan tells Damon that he's gonna help him get Catherine out of the tomb, and he's like, "You can trust me because I hate you and want you out of town more than I don't want Catherine out of the tomb." And Damon's like, "You know what? That makes sense. I think I can trust you on that front, brother. We'll work together." Stefan is lying. We don't know his plan yet, but he is pretty much immediately gonna tell Elena that that was a lie, and he is not gonna help Damon. The car guy attacks Elena at home, and Damon and Stefan show up and save her, but it's not good. And then they freak out because they know he's been invited in. So they're both like, okay, well, now we have to kill him. And Elena's like, do we though? And like, they're both just like, he's been invited in. And she's like, okay. So they go to the dance and they decide they're going to use her as bait. So they're going to have Elena go and lure that guy to them. And then they'll both go to the dance and they'll kill him. Rick introduces himself to Damon, and he is super suspicious. He is not good at lying to Damon. So he is like, "So where are you from? What are you doing here? You're Stefan's older brother? Awesome. You been anywhere in the States? You do a lot of traveling? You been to other parts of Virginia? Did you kill my wife?" And Damon's just like, the fuck, man? And Rick is just like, sorry, I'm pushy. Bye, enjoy the dance. And he leaves. He's so awkward with Damon, which I guess makes sense. But like, dude, don't go up to him and talk to him if you can't play it cool. Anna shows up at the dance, as I said, and she's like, Jeremy, I would love to read the journal. Can I have it? And he's like, I don't have it anymore. And she's like, obviously, it's not here at the dance with you. Can we go get it from your house? I'll walk you home. And he's like, Anna, I don't have it. I gave it to my history teacher to read. Relax. You can read it after him. And she's like, what if we go steal it from his office right now? What if we go to his office? We're at the school. We'll go to his office and we'll steal it. And Jeremy's like, can you cool it? No. And then he leaves. She goes out into the hallway and we see Car Guy. They are working together and they both want the journal and they both know about Catherine. And she's like, you have to stop being weird with Elena. We just need the journal. And he's like, I'll get you the journal. She looks like Catherine. I want to play with her. Car guy does go play with Elena. He gets her to come out of the dance and into the hallway by telling her if she doesn't come out, he'll kill Jeremy in front of her. And she believes him. So he lures her outside and then he chases her. She stabs him with a pencil a couple times. Then she breaks a mop over her knee, like picks it out of a janitorial bucket, breaks it over her knee, and then goes to stab him with it and he like knocks it out of her hand. Don't worry though, the boys show up and they stop the situation. They try to get him to tell them who he's working for. He will not do that. He does say that if you want to get into the tomb, you just need the grimoire, which is Emily Bennett's grimoire. And he's like, if you get that, then there'll be a counterspell you can get into the tomb. And Damon's like, well, where is it? And he's like, that part I don't know. But Jeremy's journal, the Gilbert journal, should help you find it. So then they're like, you've been invited in, and they kill him anyway. And Elena's like, wow, I can't believe we still killed him. And they're both like, he was invited in, Elena. He had to die. Damon catches Rick in the hallway, and he uses compulsion on him to try to figure out if Rick knows he's a vampire, knows what's going on, knows anything at all. And Rick answers all the questions and is like, no, no, no. I know nothing. I'm a dumb human boy. Please leave me alone. And then we find out that Rick has vervain in his hand, and it was all a lie. So sometimes he can lie really well. Matt is worried about hurting Caroline, and he basically like ruins their relationship before it really even becomes anything. And then she's really hurt by this and she leaves the grill. He follows her in his car and he's like, they have this cute like Legally Blonde moment where he's like, Caroline, get in the car. And she's like, no. And he's like, Caroline, please. And she's like, leave me alone, Matt. And then he gets out of the car and they kiss in the street on the crosswalk, and it's so cute. It's like Legally Blonde and The Notebook smushed together. It's adorable. Rick walks Jenna home. They have a cute little back and forth where he's like, chaperoning the dance wasn't a date, but dinner and a movie on Friday night could be a date. And she's like, oh my God, it could be. I love that for us. And it's real. I love them together. It's so cute. And then he tells her that his wife's name is Isabel. And Jenna is like, where was she from? And he's like, Virginia. Final shot of the episode, we see Anna outside the grill watching Ben, who's the new guy. He comes out of the grill. She stalks him a little bit, then she jumps on him. But when she jumps on him, he flips her and pins her to the wall. He is also a vampire. And he's like, don't sneak up on me. And she's like, sorry, I was just playing around. Then they kind of talk back and forth. We find out that Ben is in on the plan. Ben is trying to get the journal. Ben is like, "Oh, so they killed our friend? That's annoying. We're gonna have to deal with that." And she's like, "Look, I just want the journal. Let's just get the journal and let's leave." And he's like, "Don't worry, honey. We'll get what you need." Then they smooch, which means that they have both been messing around with Jeremy and Bonnie, which I hate. That is so gross. And then they like walk arm in arm down the street off into the darkness while Mr. Sandman plays in the background. As you can see, we've already had a costume and lighting change. I don't know what happened with my filming equipment the first day I started this video, but we got about 20 minutes in and everything crashed. So fingers crossed that doesn't happen this time. It's a new day. I now have a matcha with me. It's all going to be fine. Let's get into episode 13. This one opens with Catherine in the 1800s. We see her like freaking out in the woods. She's trying to like pull a carriage over when these two men stop to help her. She's like, help me, my husband's in the street." Who could her husband laying in the street be? So these two men stop to help. She ends up killing both of them. And then we see that the man in the street pretending to be her husband is Damon. And he's like super into this whole thing. This was like her teaching him how to hunt. So if you'll remember, one of the first things Damon did in Mystic Falls was like lay in the middle of the street and pretend to be dead so that somebody would pull over and then he could eat them. This episode is like cut between a lot of scenes of Catherine and Damon. So the second half of the season, we're going to be like piecing together more of the boys' story with her and like how it all fits. But yeah, so there's a lot of like Damon and Catherine scenes in this episode. And I don't like Catherine with him. I don't like what she did to my baby boy. In present day, Damon wakes up Elena and Stefan. They're like having a moment in bed, which is very funny because later on in the episode, Jenna is going to be like, "Stefan, you can't stay the night." So, where does she think Elena is in this moment right here when Elena is waking up in her immortal vampire's bed? But they have a little moment where Damon wakes them up and they're like, "Oh my God, Damon, get out of our room." And then they team bond over getting the journal. And he's like, "I love this. I love this little threesome thing we got going on. It's nice." And in another flashback, we see Catherine in town in the 1800s, kind of wandering around with another vampire named Pearl. And then we see that Pearl's daughter is named Anna. And that's the Anna that we know that's been dating Jeremy. So now we know that Anna's got a tie back to the vampires from the 1800s, which means she's really old, so she's really freaking powerful, and she's all up on Jeremy, and she has access to the house, so we should be concerned. At the school, Stefan stalks Rick and tries to steal the journal from his room. But Rick goes all like vampire hunter mode and he busts out his like iconic crossbow. And I think it's like in his locker or it's like hidden in a locker. And he like whips out all the pieces and puts it together and then goes storming back into his office and he's like, ka-ching, pew, and shoots it. And Stefan catches it. And then Stefan's just like, interesting. You're a liar. Are you a vampire hunter? And Rick is like, no, not specifically. And Stefan's like, that is not good enough. Sit down and tell me what you know. And they have like this whole back and forth thing. And we learn that like Rick knows about vampires because of his wife. And we thought initially that like Damon had like killed his wife for sure. Now Rick tells us that he doesn't actually know what happened to her because when he came into the bedroom and saw Damon killing her, they just disappeared. So he was like, Damon must have known I was coming and he just vanished. And Stefan is like, you cannot kill Damon. He will literally pull you apart and it will be terrible. And Rick is like, well, I just want to know what happened to my wife. Just somebody tell me what happened to my wife. And then Stefan is like, "Well, just give me the journal. That's all I want, and then you're good to go." And Rick is like, "Okay, it's in my desk." It's no longer in his desk. So that means that when Rick left the room thinking Stefan was coming in and stalking him, it wasn't Stefan, it was someone else. Someone else has the journal. That person is Anna. We cut to her in the hotel room with Ben and she's going through the journal. She can't find anything on it, but she's getting kind of flashback memories of Jonathan Gilbert flirting with her mom Pearl and like having a thing with him in town and all the women vampires kind of picking on her about that and Pearl being really into it and really liking Jonathan. We also in this flashback learned that Giuseppe Salvatore, the boys' dad, is like huge jerk, not a good guy. He loves and adores Stefan and then absolutely hates Damon and thinks he's like a lazy bum because he deserted the Confederate Army because Damon didn't want to fight for slavery. And his dad is like, yeah, that's another way for saying you're lazy and you didn't want to do your duty. And Damon's like, not it at all, but okay, dad, thank you so much. And he doesn't really fight back. So, like, Damon as a human, he's got to be a Pisces. He's so emotional and so sweet and so caring. And then Stefan is the one that's kind of like brash and not really cognizant of like how to handle other people and trusting all the wrong people. It's just, oh, the human versions of them, man. There's parallels. So Giuseppe ends up telling the boys that they know about the vampire problem in town and they're going to kill the vampires. They have a plan and the boys are going to be expected to kill the vampires too. And Stefan is immediately like, "Look, but if we just tell him about the fact that we're both in love with Catherine, he's not going to kill her." And Damon's like, "Are you insane? He will kill her immediately on sight. Don't tell him. Promise me you won't tell him." And Stefan's like, "Yeah, okay, I promise. I won't tell him." Stefan almost immediately tells his dad. He goes to him and he tries to pitch it as like, what if we don't know that vampires are good? Like, what if some of them are nice and we expect all of them to be evil, but some of them are nice? And his dad is like, "Do you know a vampire?" And he's like, "No, dad, me know a vampire? Of course not." His dad does not believe him. He immediately pours him a glass of like brandy or scotch or something. And he's like, "Here, son." And he gives it to him. And he's like, "You'll be expected to fight. And if you don't, you'll die with them." So Stefan drinks the drink. And then that night, when he's with Catherine, she drinks from him. Bada bing, bada boom. There was vervain in the alcohol his dad gave him. They immediately capture Catherine. They put this like really sick muzzle on her, which is like, I love it. It's so creepy and scary, but it's like they muzzle her and then kidnap her, and Damon is livid. He's like, "I can't believe you told dad. This is your fault. You did this." And Stefan's like, "I thought we could trust him." And Damon's like, "I told you not to do it." In modern day, we get an amazing scene. I love this like season 1 scenes of Damon cooking in the kitchen. I know I said it annoys me when Stefan shows up, but we just cut to the Gilbert house and Damon's just cooking dinner for Aunt Jenna while she drinks wine on the bar and flirts with him. And it's so funny because nothing ever happens with them, but Jenna just, she takes her moment. She's like, "I'm just gonna sit here and enjoy this," and I love it for her. And then Elena comes home and she's like, "Why is Damon in my house?" And Jenna's like, "Well, we're cooking dinner," and then like leaves her alone in the kitchen with him. They flirt a little bit more, and we get this wonderful scene where Damon is just like, he's like washing a dish or something, and he's like, "Is this real? Can I trust Stefan?" And Elena's like, "Yeah, absolutely." She like immediately lies. And she goes to like leave the room and he flash steps in front of her and he's like, "Okay, but can I trust him? Like, is this real?" And she's like, "Damon, don't use compulsion on me. I'm wearing vervain." And he's like, "I'm not trying to use compulsion on you. I'm just making sure you're being honest with me. Like, can I trust him?" It's such a good moment. I love Damon, guys. I do. And let me remind you, okay, all the stuff he's done to get to this point. This is episode 13, and he's already breaking and showing us more and more of his like humanity and his kindness and the like trauma that he has and the trust issues that he has. And do you know what Elena does with that? He hands her all of this gentleness and she says squish and she lies to him again, okay? They realize that Anna might be Anna from the 1800s and Damon's like, "Well, I'm just going to go with Jeremy to the grill and we'll figure that out." He goes with Jeremy to the grill. It is in fact Anna from the 1800s. What happens is he leaves the grill and is going to go and then she jumps him and they end up talking about everything together and she ends up telling him like, "If you'll just work with me, you know, I we can do this together." And he's like, "No, sorry, I work alone," leaving out the fact that he was already working with Elena and Stefan. While they're doing that, Stefan and Elena go through the journal because Rick made a copy. So even though they told Damon, "Oh, somebody else has the journal, we don't know where it is," they have a copy from Rick. So they go through that secretly because they're liars and figure out that Jonathan Gilbert gave Giuseppe Salvatore something, like probably the grimoire, something to help get rid of the vampires, the secrets of the journal, and Giuseppe took that with him to the grave. Damon has also figured that out. So now they all meet up at the crypt. Bonnie is at the grill with Ben while the whole Anna, Damon, Jeremy coming to the grill thing happens. So Bonnie's there with Ben. She kisses him, and when she touches him, she realizes that he's a vampire and freaks out and does not hide it well. She thinks she does, but she does not hide it well, and he ends up snatching her. So Bonnie is kidnapped. Stefan and Elena do find the grimoire in the crypt with his dad. We see Giuseppe Salvatore's skeleton. It's a whole moment. And then Damon shows up and he's like, "Great. So you're a bunch of lying liars." And they're like, "Well, you're here by yourself, meaning you were going to take it yourself anyway and not tell us." And he's like, "Of course I was. Cuz look at this. I can't trust you. I've been proven right. Once again, I can trust no one." And he is super, super upset that they lied to him in this moment. More than anything, though, he's upset that Elena lied. He ends up snatching her and being like, "Give me the grimoire or I'll kill her." And Stefan's like, "You're not going to do that." And Damon's like, "Okay, yeah." He like makes her drink his blood. And then he's like, "Give me the grimoire or I snap her neck and we both have a vampire girlfriend." And it's so, it shouldn't be funny, but it is. So Elena's panicking and Damon's just like holding her. And Stefan's like, "Okay, great, fine, switch." And he gives Damon the grimoire and Damon gives him Elena, and then they all separate. So Stefan gets Elena home and gets her settled in bed and trying to relax. He's like, "The vampire blood is still in your system, but it's going to be gone soon. Don't worry about it. It'll be out by the time you're awake in the morning. Everything's going to be fine." Jeremy downstairs is like, "Oh, hey, Stefan." And then he's like, "Aunt Jenna, where'd she go?" And Jenna's like, "Oh, I think she's in the bathroom." And Stefan's like, "Who are we talking about?" And Jenna's like, "He has a friend over." And Jeremy goes, "Anna." And Stefan goes, goes upstairs. Wouldn't you know it, Elena is gone. We jump to Elena waking up in a hotel room with Ben asleep in a chair, like watching her. She tries to sneak out, like all the humans always do. He stops her right at the last second. They have a little scuffle. Anna ends up showing up, and then Anna shows up and locks Elena in the bathroom instead of like in the hotel main space. And in the bathroom, she finds Bonnie. Damon goes to Graham's and tries to convince her to tell him where Bonnie is, and he threatens her. She threatens him right back, and she does this spell for the first time. We haven't seen anybody else use it yet, but it's a witch power that they do where they give the vampires aneurysms. Like literally, they just start popping blood vessels in their heads because they can't you can't kill them like that, but it's like excruciatingly painful. So she does that to Damon, and then she's like, "Don't mess with me." And Damon's like, "Noted. I'm so sorry. I never should have done that." So that's like the first big spell that Grams does that day. She ends up getting Stefan, telling him where Bonnie and Elena are using the tracking spell. He goes and saves them from the hotel. And then Grams agrees to go ahead and open the tomb because she's like, "I can see that you guys can't handle this on your own. And now Bonnie's involved. So I'm just going to get involved and I'm going to handle it because I'm a queen." Elena goes to Damon and like apologizes sincerely because she knows that if she can just appeal to the fact that they hurt him really badly, recognize that they hurt him, he will probably accept their help. And she's right. He does end up being like, "Okay, okay, if you're really going to open the tomb, I don't ever lie to me again." Like he's just very feelings are very hurt, very sensitive boy. And so Grams starts the ceremony to open the tomb. She needs Bonnie's help, but Grams is doing most of the work in this situation. She knows how to do it, how to handle the magic. She's just kind of teaching Bonnie as she goes. Anna and Jeremy are in the woods at a kegger party, and he basically admits that he's fallen for her and would like to start dating her. And she hits him with, "Sorry, I'm leaving town." And they almost kiss, and then Ben shows up and knocks him out. And Anna is like, "Pick him up, okay? You shouldn't have hit him that hard. We've got to take him to go meet my mother." So, did she even like him at all? I don't think so. I think this whole time it's been a lie, and she was just jerking him around to feed him to her mom. Grams and Bonnie open up the tomb, and Damon immediately is like, "All right, Elena, let's go." And Stefan's like, "You're not taking her in there." And Damon's like, "You think I am going in alone? No, no, no. I'm going to take Elena in so that y'all can't close the door behind me." And Elena's like, He's a smart man. He's a smart man. He sniffs our lies. I'm going to go with him. So they go into the tomb to look for Catherine. Pretty much immediately, Damon just yeets and leaves her alone in the tomb. So she's wandering around, bumping into all these like scary, desiccated vampires, and they can smell her. So they're like moaning and groaning in their little zombie form, and she's terrified. All alone in the crypt, Damon is nowhere to be found. Anna goes inside to grab her mom, and when Bonnie like freaks out and is like, I can't believe we let her go in, Grams is like, it's okay. None of them are coming out. And we learn that Grams opened the door, but she didn't remove the spell. So the like sealing spell of like basically like the line of the door, the doorway, is locked in. So once a vampire crosses that threshold, they can't get back out of the threshold. But the door is open, so it looks like they can. And she's like, Elena can get out. That's all that matters. Everybody else who goes in will be trapped in there. Anna grabs Elena and feeds her blood to her mom to wake her mom up. And Stefan hears the scream. And even though he knows what Grams has done, he can't stop himself from running into her. So he runs inside, stops that from happening. Pearl wakes up and is reunited with Anna, and it is really sweet. I do love that part right there. That's wonderful moment. Very happy for them. Now that Stefan's in there, Bonnie's like, we can't leave Stefan in there. So Grams and Bonnie pull the spell down for just a moment. While they're doing that, it's like clearly a really big drain on both of them. Bonnie is like almost not able to handle it. She has to like almost stop several times. And so Grams is once again kind of taking the brunt of that force and the power. Anna and Pearl get out. And Anna's like, I promise we're leaving. I just wanted my mom back. I promise we're going to leave. And again, there's a lot about Anna that's like very truthful. Like she really did just want her mom. The stuff that I wish they'd left out or like changed is the fact that she wanted to feed Jeremy to her mom, because like that doesn't even end up happening. Jeremy never gets brought down to the crypt. She uses Elena's blood. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. I think they make her more of a villain than she is. The reality is she just wanted her mom. Damon gets out because even though he's freaking out in the tomb and having a meltdown, Elena convinces him. She's like, we have to leave right now, or you are both, to him and Stefan, she's like, you're both going to be trapped in here. Please come with me. And he follows her out. And then they all three of them get out. So the only vampires still in the tomb are those that were desiccated. Back at home, Jeremy saw way too much, and I'm not really sure why they didn't think of this, because Elena was given Vervain by Stefan like last episode to give to all of her friends. So Jeremy saw too much. He saw Anna's eyes. He remembers things. So he starts doing vampire searches on Google. At the hotel that they've been staying at, Damon confronts Pearl and Anna and tries to kill Pearl. And Anna's like, please, please don't kill my mom. And Pearl ends up telling him that Catherine escaped because she bribed a guard and got out of the church before it was even a fire. So she never even was in the crypt. She's literally been on the run since the night of the church fire. Anna's like, I saw her semi recently in another state, and she knew where you were and she didn't care. Like, she didn't want to come find you. She didn't care about you anymore. I'm sorry. So Damon is crushed, and now his whole vampire life purpose has been taken away from him. And what will he do now that nothing matters? Gramps has given way too much power to do this spell. She is not good. Bonnie tells her to lay down. Grams dies. Don't worry. You can get attached to Grams. Grams will be back. I'm going to spoil that for you because it really hurt me the first time, and we don't need to be afraid right now. Okay, Grams will be back. When Damon had his little meltdown in the tomb about Catherine not being there, he threw the blood bag that he was going to feed to her at the wall, and it like splattered and blew everywhere, and the vampires got a hold of it, and one of the vampires wanders out through the tunnel, gets to the crypt door, and gets out. So the vampire that broke out of the crypt, his name is Harper. We see him like wandering through the forest outside of the church area. He runs into a hiker and he's like, hey, what year is it? Where am I? And the hiker is like, my guy, it's 2010. You're in Mystic Falls. Are you okay? Can I help you? Why are you dressed like that? And Harper's like, I am so sorry. You seem like such a nice person. And then he eats him. Oh my goodness. I didn't realize he was in frame. I could see him walking in, but there's my cat, Zach. Jenna tells Elena that she did some digging about the whole adoption situation and she found that Isabel used a fake last name. So she wrote down Isabel Peterson on the records. That person doesn't exist. There is a Trudy Peterson who went to school nearby. And when Jenna looked up a picture of Trudy, she found a picture of Isabel. And it looks a lot like Elena, like similar coloring and stuff like that. So then Jenna is like, also, by the way, Rick's wife who died is named Isabel. And they act like there's no way it's not the same person. Like there's an Isabel that Rick knows that lives nearby. It must be my dead mom that gave me up for adoption. When Elena takes this information to Stefan, he just decides that now is not the best time to tell her that Damon potentially killed her mother. And she's like, oh, I hope Damon is okay about the whole Catherine situation and feeling empathy for Damon. Stefan just allows that to happen as if there will be no consequences to that choice. Meanwhile, Damon is in a deep, deep spiral involving several college girls and loud music and booze. So that's unfolding, and he promises he's not going to kill them. He's like, this isn't like murder thing. This is just me having fun. I don't feel good, blah, blah, blah. And Stefan tries to get him to talk about Isabel. He acts like he doesn't know who she is. He doesn't remember. He's like, I've bitten many women, my good brother. I have no idea which one this one is. Matt and Caroline are hooking up at his house on the couch in the living room, because he lives alone. And of course, that is the moment that his mother, who sucks, decides to come home. This is Mrs. Donovan. I can't stand Mrs. Donovan. None of these kids have good parents except for Caroline. Jenna and Rick have a cute moment together where they kiss, and they're such a cute couple. I love them together. But then she ruins it by saying, hey, I think your dead wife might be Elena's real mom. Is this her? And she shows him the picture, and he's like, oh my God, I had no idea my dead wife had a baby before she died. Even though she promised Stefan she would take him with her, Elena goes to see Trudy on her own. And Trudy at first is like kind of excited to see her and like she's like surprised, but she's not upset. And then when Elena goes inside, Trudy looks super freaking suspicious and nervous, and, like, as she shuts the door, she's, like, panically looking around like, "Oh my god, Elena's here, haha." Trudy says that she hasn't seen Isabel in years. They, like, lost touch. She doesn't know where she is. She also says that she doesn't know who the father of Elena is. Like, that was something Isabel never told anybody. And then when Trudy gets up to make some tea for them, she, like, frantically texts somebody. So we know Trudy is up to no good. Rick and Stefan meet up about all of this, and Rick learns that Elena knows everything, like not just about Isabel, but like about the vampires, about Stefan. So the people that know about the vampires are kind of starting to like figure out that they're a community. So that's going to be nice. It's going to build relationships between all of them. But for right now, Rick is like, well, I shouldn't talk to Elena because I don't want to be the one to tell her about Damon. And Stefan's like, yeah, just let me do it. I'm going to do it. I'm just not going to do it yet because hopefully there will be no consequences to me sitting on this very vital information. Elena drinks the tea that Trudy made and she's immediately like, this has vervain in it. And Trudy's like, vervain? What are you talking about? It's just an herb. And Elena's like, you know about the vampires. And Trudy's like, you need to leave. You need to get out of my house. And she like panics and freaks out and kicks Elena out. In the street, when Elena is going to her car, there's just a man in the street watching her, and she like hurriedly gets in her car and drives away, and he starts like running after the car for a second, but don't worry, he's gonna go into Trudy's house and kill Trudy for seemingly no reason. She's like, oh my god, I didn't do anything, I promise I did exactly like what she said, and I didn't tell Elena anything, but she definitely knows something. And the guy is like, that's fine, you're done now and I have to kill you. And he just kills Trudy. He just pushes her down the stairs. At the grill, Rick and Damon have a little bit of bonding time, and Rick does a really bad job of being normal, even though Stefan just told him to be normal. So then Rick leaves, and Caroline's mom shows up, and she's like, hi, Damon, will you please be a bachelor tonight for the bachelor auction, because that's this episode's event? And Damon's like, this town is so silly. Sure, why not? I'll do that for you if you look into Rick for me, because Rick is suspicious. And Caroline's mom is like, absolutely, Damon, thanks for being my best friend. So Stefan ends up telling Elena that Isabel is Rick's wife, but he's like, don't go to Rick about information yet. Like, we need to kind of give this time because remember, he's lying about what happened to Isabel, and Rick knows it was Damon, but Elena doesn't now. So he's lying to both Rick and Elena to keep them from talking to each other to learn about the Damon situation because there will absolutely be no consequences to him sitting on this information. Stefan shows Damon the picture of Isabel and he's like, "Did you kill this woman?" And Damon's like, "I don't know. Why does it matter to you? Leave me alone." And then pretty much immediately afterwards, Caroline's mom comes back and she's like, "I got the info on Rick. His wife died. Her name was Isabel. That's really the only like sad thing about him. Otherwise, he's like perfectly normal, good guy." And Damon puts it together and he's like, "Oh, this is the person that Stefan's been so concerned about. Interesting. That was Rick's wife. I can have fun with this." And he goes up on stage to do the bachelor thing. And the mayor's wife is like, "What do you do? What do you do? Tell us a little about yourself." And Damon gets to his turn and he like turns to Rick and he's like, "Oh, I do a lot of traveling. I was at, I was in North Carolina for a little while and I stopped by the Duke campus. That's where you went to school, isn't it, Rick? Didn't your wife go there too? I think I had a drink with her once and she was delicious." And Rick is just freaking devastated. You know who else is devastated? Elena Gilbert, who is sitting in the audience at the grill listening to this, and she puts it together that Damon killed her mom. Does Damon know that it's her mom he's talking about? No, he's just being a jerk and picking on Rick because when he's stressed, he lashes out. Elena's heartbroken. Her and Stefan get into a little kerfuffle where she's like, "Why didn't you tell me? Like, oh my God, it was Damon." And he's like, "Yes, but I was hoping that we could, like, maybe it wasn't true. Maybe he didn't kill her. I didn't want to, like, make it a big thing until we knew for sure." And she's like, "Why not, Stefan? He's a monster." And he's like, "I know, Elena, but what if I wanted to think he could change too?" So Stefan just wishy-washy, okay? Because he spends half the time being like, "My brother Damon is an evil, terrible monster who I hate," and the other half the time being like, "My brother Damon is my big brother and I love him so much and I wish he was a good, snuggly older brother who played football with me and was kind." Matt's mom is super mean to Caroline at this whole bachelor event. So she's like, "You're a mean girl, you're fake, your mom was fake, you're just a bunch of snooty little rich bitches and I don't like you." And Caroline's really hurt because she really likes Matt and she wanted his mom to like her, but his mom just has eyes for Elena, just like everybody else in this freaking town. Elena confronts Damon because he still doesn't know what he did. So she's like being mean to him about picking on Rick. And he's like, "Lay off. Like, it was just a joke." And she's like, "Yeah, a joke about my dead mom. Did I forget to mention that my biological mother's name is Isabel?" And then Damon is like, "Oh my God, I fricked up. I fricked up so bad." But do you think he tells the truth in that moment? No. No, he does not. He just lets Elena storm off and then Stefan follow her with a sad look on his face and he just stands there like, "Dang it." Outside of the grill, the man that has been like stalking Elena that killed Trudy shows up and he's like, "Elena Gilbert, do you understand me? Leave it alone. She doesn't want to know you. Do you understand me? She doesn't want to know you." And Elena's like, "Who are you talking about? Are you talking about my mom?" And the guy just keeps saying, "Do you understand? She doesn't want to know you," until Stefan is like, "He's under compulsion." And she's like, "Yes, I understand." And he goes, "Good. I'm done now." And then he steps into moving traffic and gets hit by a bus. At the Salvatore house, Rick confronts Damon about everything that went down with Isabel. They get into a fight. It does not go well for Rick. Damon ends up admitting that he turned Isabel because she wanted to be turned. He also says that they slept together, which there's a lot of like casual cheating in this show. It's just like normal. It's not even really plot points. Like people just cheat constantly in the show and I dislike that. That's one of my like biggest pet peeves is cheating. So I don't love that about any of them, but they all do it. Damon also kills Rick. Rick is dead. When Stefan comes home and finds Rick on the floor, he like yells at Damon for a few minutes and then Damon's like, "Whatever, clean up the body." He leaves and when Stefan is like getting ready to get Rick and like to bury him or something or figure something out, Rick starts moving and then he comes back to life. And Stefan is like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. You're a vampire now. Damon must have given you his blood." And Rick is like, "No, it's not that. It's this." And he shows off his ugly, chunky ring. And he's like, "Isabel gave me this. it must be what did it. And we get a little flashback of Isabel telling Rick that, like, she knows it's an ugly, chunky, disgusting ring. He needs to wear it all the time because it will protect him from the dangers of the world. Using a phone that guy who jumped in front of a bus dropped when he jumped in front of a bus, Elena calls the number, like the last speed dial number, and it's like a little flip phone. She calls the number and it's Isabel's voice. So now we as an audience have like full confirmation they are for sure the same person, and Isabel is alive. So Damon's probably not lying when he said he turned her into a vampire. We go back to Harper. We started the episode with him. We're back to our little baby boy Harper. He's really been struggling. He's been wandering around town in the hiker's clothes, like confused and scared. And he gets to a farmhouse, and in the farmhouse are all the other vampires from the crypt living with Pearl and Anna. So they've got this poor woman who's like helping them live there. It's her house that they're all staying in. So they're inside and they're drinking off of her, and Harper comes in and they shut the door, and it's a cozy little creepy vampire family. So this episode opens with the vampires in the farmhouse figuring out how to be modern. They're getting haircuts, they're getting makeovers, they're learning how to use phones and the TV and all that kind of stuff. And we kind of see that there's definitely like factions between them. So there's Pearl and all the vampires that are listening to Pearl and trusting Pearl. And then there's this aggressive guy and his girlfriend who definitely don't want to be told what to do. They're trying to get out of the farmhouse. They want to explore. And Pearl is like, you need to let me and Anna handle it. Anna already has a foothold in the town. We need to get settled, and then we'll bring you guys in. You're going to have to be patient. Well, they've been in the tomb for 150 years. No one is patient, so it's not going well. Caroline sets up a double date with her and Matt and Stefan and Elena. And Elena and Stefan agree to it because they're trying to be normal for the day. They've had so much drama. Today's going to be a normal day. They're just going to have fun. They're just going to be kids. Jeremy is back this episode. We don't know where he was. He's back now, and he's Googling information on vampires and joining forums to try to get more info about them. Pearl and Anna go to Damon, and she says that if he'll tell her everything about the council and help her get settled into town, she'll tell him where Catherine is. And Damon's like, I literally don't care about Catherine anymore. Save your info. I don't need it. And she's like, that's so funny. It wasn't a request. She like gouges out his eyes and is like, I'll rip you limb from limb. You're helping me deal with it. At the grill, Matt's mom, who was supposed to be there for a job interview, is flirting with Damon. And then Jenna shows up, and they have a weird, like, hangout session at the bar where they're both flirting with Damon. They're all drinking. It's uncomfortable. You know who it's really uncomfortable for? Matt, Caroline, Elena, and Stefan, who show up for their double date and witness that unfolding at the bar. The aggressive vampire sneaks out with his girlfriend, and Harper does try to stop them. He's like, please don't leave. Miss Pearl said no. And the aggressive vampire's like, if you're not going to stop me, I'm out, bucko. Bye. And he just leaves. Anna shows up at Jeremy's, and she's like, surprise, we're not leaving town. And he's kind of surprised to see her, but also a little excited. And he starts pretty much immediately telling her that he's got another school paper due, and he thinks he's going to write about vampires again. And she's kind of like, why do you care? Didn't you get all that out? Like, blah, blah, blah. And he's just like, no, like, you're the one that told me they were real. You're the one who believes. And even though she was all up in the vampire business, like, episodes ago, she was all about that life. Now she's like, oh my God, Jeremy, vampires aren't real. I was kidding. I was just flirting with you. The aggressive vampire goes to the grill. He grabs Elena. He's like, Catherine. And she's like, no, sorry, you have the wrong person. My name's Elena. Please leave me alone. She immediately tells Stefan, and when he goes to try to get the guy is gone. They decide to leave the grill and take everybody back to the Salvatore house for like a movie night. When they get there, Matt and Stefan bond over Stefan's fancy car, and Matt helps him get it like up and working again. And then they end up coming inside and catching Damon hooking up with Matt's mom in the hallway. So the night ends pretty quickly after that. Jeremy and Anna are making dinner, and he does the single stupidest thing that pretty much anybody in this show ever does, and that is he cuts his own hand open and then is like, what's wrong, Anna? Are you scared of blood, Anna? You got a problem with blood, Anna? And she freaks out, of course, and her eyes change, and he's like, I knew it. Go ahead, drink from my hand. And she freaking drinks his blood in the kitchen, and then Jenna walks in and Anna flees. When the girls leave the Salvatore house, Damon and Stefan are kind of talking about the calamity of the night, and they immediately get attacked by aggressive vampire and his girlfriend. A fight ensues. They end up killing the girlfriend, and the aggressive one is like, "Oh, this is the worst," and he gets away. And then Stefan's like, "They were in the tomb. I remember them from the 1800s." And Damon's like, "Yeah, about that," because he already knew, because he'd already seen Pearl and she told him about the farmhouse, and he just kept that to himself. Final scene from the episode is Jeremy going into his room for the end of the night, and Anna shows up and she's like, "What is wrong with you? I could have killed you." And he's like, "Yeah, but you didn't." And then he tells her all about Vicky and how he's pretty sure Vicky was a vampire and blah blah blah, all of this. He thinks he knows what happened, but he can't really remember, but he's pretty sure. And then it ends with him being like, "I know what I want, Anna. I want you to turn me." So Frederick, who is the aggressive vampire, he wants to attack the town and just kill everybody in the town and say, "Who cares about Mystic Falls? We're in charge now." And Pearl is like, "That's not the way it's done anymore. We need to lay low. We need to be patient." And then she leaves to go to work, and all of the other vampires are still stuck in that house. And Frederick is like, "See, guys, we just need to be patient. We just need to wait it out." So he's slowly turning the other vampires against Pearl, but Pearl does not know that yet. Matt and Caroline have a scene where they talk about him having to like yell at his mom and be the parent to his mom and how uncomfortable that is. And really, it's just a setup because Caroline needs to be in a vehicle heading out into the very bad storm. It's probably like a hurricane that they're about to get. So she is leaving in her car into a storm. That's going to matter in a minute. Stefan goes hunting because they had that fight with Frederick in the last episode and it really drained him. So he's like, "I have to go hunt." And Damon's like, "Absolutely, go kill a bunny for me." And when Stefan's in the woods, he gets ambushed and kidnapped by Frederick and the bad vampires. They realize very quickly where he probably is. So Damon goes to that farmhouse and Frederick is like, "Yeah, here's your brother." And they're like torturing Stefan in the background of the shot. And he's like, "The nice human lady who owns this house is never ever going to let you inside, Damon. So have a good day." And he shuts the door in his face. Damon and Elena have a really great moment outside in the rain. It's one of their many rain moments where he's like, "I know we have to get Stefan. I promise we're going to get Stefan. You have to let me figure this out because I don't know how we're going to do it yet, but we're going to do it. We're going to get him back." And Elena is like, "Okay, I trust you." So Damon and Elena go to Rick and ask him to help because Rick can't die because of his ugly, chunky ring. And Rick is kind of at first, he's like, "No, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. I don't want to help." And then because he wants to kill vampires, he does end up agreeing. Also, the whole tie with him and Elena is kind of becoming a thing. We also get a scene where Pearl figures out that Anna and Jeremy are a couple, or could be a couple, or like secretly messing around behind everybody's backs, and she's super disappointed. She's like, "He's a Gilbert and the Gilberts are the reason why I was in the tomb." And Anna's like, "He's not like his dad, okay?" And she's so defiant to her mom. Her mom like slaps her. It's a whole thing. She's so defiant over that she tells Jeremy, "Okay, yeah, I will turn you," even though she's given him before like this whole big list of reasons why she won't turn him into a vampire. Now she's like, "I've changed my mind. I will do it right now." Caroline, who, remember, got her butt in the car and went driving off into a storm, runs off the road and gets stuck in some mud. So she ends up getting out of the car and like walking through the rain trying to find cell service. She falls down an embankment and finds a dead body. Rick sneaks into the vampire house by showing up at the front door and being like, "Hello, I am a tired human trapped in the storm. Can I please come inside and use your phone?" And the vampires are like, "Absolutely, you can come inside and use our phone. Head to the kitchen. We'll get you something to drink too." Wink, wink. And Rick immediately kills the one that takes him into the kitchen. Then he like turns the blender on and opens the door to let Damon inside. The human lady, who has been told not to let Damon in, the compulsion can't be broken. So then Damon's like, "Put her outside." Rick shoves her through the door. Damon checks to see if she has kids or a husband or family. When she says no, he snaps her neck. She is dead. Rick is very upset about this, but Damon's like, "Compulsion doesn't work that way. You can't just break it anytime you want to, okay?" Now that she's dead, all of that is over, and Damon comes inside and just starts killing people left and right, just taking down the vampires any chance he can. Elena, who was supposed to wait in the car, cannot leave well enough alone. She gets out of the vehicle, goes to break into the house, ends up going down into the basement because she's got like a sixth sense and she's like, that's where he is. She goes down into the basement. They find Stefan. They also find Harper. Harper tried to help Stefan and has now been like chained up with him. So Stefan's like strung up shirtless, because of course he is, with vervain ropes, and they've been torturing him. And then Harper is like in a chair with his hands bound and like stakes stabbed into his legs so he can't get up. Now that they've gotten Stefan out, Stefan and Elena run to the vehicle. Inside the farmhouse where Rick is, all hell breaks loose. It's just fighting all over the place. All the vampires that have been in the peripheral come in and start fighting. Rick ends up saving Damon's life. Damon runs off to go get Frederick. When he comes back inside, having not found Frederick, he also saves Rick's life. So now Rick and Damon kind of have like a life for a life situation going on. And Damon definitely thinks they're best friends. Rick is not about that life yet. They go to follow Elena and Stefan to the car. We cut to Elena and Stefan at the car. They get into a fight with Frederick, and it goes so badly, and he almost kills Stefan to the point where like Stefan passes out from the blood loss. Like he is absolutely on the verge of death. And instead of like calling for help, looking for Damon, doing anything else but this, Elena gives him her wrist and insists that he drinks her blood. And at first he's like, absolutely not, I can't do that. And he really shows some restraint, and he's like, I can't be trusted with this, don't do it. She insists because he's dying, so he drinks her blood. Third cut to the Donovan house where Matt's mom is making him dinner. There's a knock at the door. He goes to the door. It's Caroline and Caroline's mom. And at first he's like, oh, Caroline, what happened to you? You get stuck in the storm? And then when Caroline's mom shows up, he's like, what the heck is going on? That's right, everybody. The dead body that Caroline found was Vicky Donovan. So now, very sad at the Donovan household. That's not good. The news also gets to the mayor, and he's at the grill still, so he announces it to the room because he's a jerk. So he's talking to Tyler, but he's very loud, and Jeremy overhears it. And Jeremy and Tyler have a moment of like connection where they're both just like, oh my God, Vicky's dead. Pearl and Anna come to the farmhouse, and Damon and Rick were definitely about to just get absolutely wrecked by all the other vampires converging on the farmhouse. When Pearl shows up, she's able to stop it. And she's like, what the heck is going on? Why did you kill my people? And Damon's like, because they kidnapped my brother and were torturing him. Okay. I had to do it. And Pearl is like, I cannot believe that happened. It will not happen again. You have my word. And he's like, it better not. Keep your people in line. Recharged on Elena blood, Stefan just goes absolutely feral and just destroys Frederick. Okay. He stabs him, and then he stabs him again, and then he stabs him again, and he just like stab until Elena stops him, and he like wheels around on Elena and is like growling feral evil Stefan, and she's terrified. At the house later, he ends up apologizing for being big bad and scary, and they come to like an understanding of it where she's like, I'm sorry I made you drink my blood, and he's like, you were saving my life. And then he's like, I'm sorry I scared you, and she's like, you were saving my life. And so they're bonded. It's totally healthy. Nothing could go wrong. Everyone goes over to Matt's house because the news of Vicky's death kind of spreads to all the friends. And Matt is like sitting in his bedroom, and Caroline tries to bring him some tea because she's a good, sweet girlfriend. And he's like, I just need to be alone right now. He walks out into the hallway, and Elena comes in, and they see each other, and he just starts to cry, and she holds him, and it's so sweet until you remember that Caroline is in the doorway to the bedroom watching it happen. Rick and Damon are at the bar getting drunk, and again, remember, Damon now thinks they're best friends, and he's like, didn't we have so much fun? You and I, we are badass together. And Rick finishes his drink, sets it down on the bar, and just decks Damon in the face, as he should. In his room, Jeremy has like a complete meltdown over Vicky. He's got all these like clippings of like her disappearance and the story and all of that. He starts like throwing them around the room and just like pitching a fit. Anna comes in, and she's like, what's going on? Are you okay? He tells her that his friend Vicky is dead. She's been dead the whole time. And Anna puts it together that was why he wanted to be a vampire, was so he could go find Vicky and be with her forever. So then Anna is like, dang it, these Gilbert men, they're trash. My mom was right. At the Salvatore residence, Damon walks into the study, sees a plethora of blood bags and cups and mess, And then he finds little feral Stefan on the floor, just chugging the human blood, just chug, 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 chug. And we know it's a problem, okay, from the look of just absolute brokenness on Stefan's face and the look of horror on Damon's. Okay, if Damon Salvatore is concerned, we should all be worried. At the Gilbert house, we meet Uncle John, Jenna, Elena, Jeremy. They're very much anti Uncle John being back in town. They wish that he wasn't there. They don't really care why he's visiting. They don't want to see him. Uncle John is in town to hook up with the Founders Council and tell them that he's pretty sure there's a bigger vampire situation going on and he knows something's up and they need to be paying attention. Stefan starts lying right away to Elena about what's going on with him and the blood. He pretends like he's fine, he can handle it, no big deal. They end up like starting to hook up and he absolutely almost bites her and attacks her. Then we have the founders party, like the kickoff thing, which is like starting the month of events that revolve around the fact that the town was founded 150 years ago. Something like that. And the mayor is like hosting like a yay, we're starting the events because they love an event in this town. So they're having a get together at the house, the mayor's house, and everybody starts branching off. Matt and Tyler start getting drunk together. Stefan shows up drunk and is like a different person. Like he's think Damon, but worse, honestly, because the thing with Damon is that like there's like some charm to him even when he's being kind of gross and annoying. With Stefan, like it's so aggressive and like unsettling. Like Stefan is scary from like the time he turns kind of crazy onward. I lose a lot of trust with him. Where it's like Damon can kind of fake it better and pretend to be nice. Stefan's like he's got that energy of the like I'm the nice guy. You should trust me. And like you absolutely should not. He's so scary. Like someone bumps into Elena while they're dancing and hanging out at the party and Stefan goes all feral vampire and is just like apologize to my girlfriend, apologize right now, and like uses compulsion on him. It gets really ugly really quick. John confronts Damon and tells him that he knows everything about the vampires. He knows the 1800 stories. He knows all of it. And Damon is like, you probably shouldn't have told me that. I could just kill you right now. And John is like, go ahead, go for it, buddy. What's stopping you? Go for it. So Damon does. Damon snaps his neck and throws him off a balcony at the mayor's house during the party while Paramore's Brick by Boring Brick is playing in the background. Tyler talks to Matt's mom about Vicky dying and they kind of bond over that. And then Matt and Elena walk in on Tyler and Mrs. Donovan hooking up. So that does not go over well. Matt and Tyler get in like a vicious fight. And Tyler, once again, remember when he like freaked out on Jeremy a couple episodes ago? He freaks out on Matt and like almost kills him. Everybody's freaking out. Rick has to like pull him off of him. Stefan smells the blood on Matt's mom and ends up like getting it on his hand and then eating it off his hand. And that's like the tipping point for him. Like there is no going back. We are in full problem mode with Stefan now. Tyler's dad hits him over this event and he's like, don't ever embarrass the family again. That's the last time. Meanwhile, Matt is with his mom kicking her out of the house, even though she's like crying and telling him she won't ever do it again. He's like, get out, mom, you have to leave. John Gilbert, who Damon has just neck snapped and thrown off a balcony, just waltzes back into the party like nothing is wrong. And Damon and Rick are like, oh no. They realize that John has an ugly, clunky ring thing just like Rick's, and they're both just like that's not good. And then Damon, who's a big brain, just starts like putting it all together and he's like, Rick, if Isabel gave you the ring, she probably gave John the ring, and Isabel is the one that gave birth to Elena. And who birthed Elena? Like who handled that pregnancy? Freaking John's brother. They end up confronting him just about the ring situation and kind of about Isabel, and John confirms, like, yeah, I knew Isabel. I can't believe she gave you my ring. That was so lame of her. And I sent her to you, Damon, so she could become a vampire. And if y'all kill me again, try to kill me for real, everything I know goes straight to the council. So your best bet is to leave me alone. At home, Jeremy, who has kind of had some bonding time with Elena, but still feels like she's hiding stuff from him, and the stuff with Vicky's just not sitting well. He's kind of starting to like figure stuff out. He sneaks into Elena's room, steals Elena's journal, and finds out all of the truth. So he doesn't really get all of his memories back in reading that, but he knows what's been done to him, and that's kind of enough for him to piece everything together. Stefan shows up to admit to Elena how sick he's gotten. They have kind of an argument. There's gonna be a lot of that moving forward with the end of this season where Stefan is just like slipping and not slipping, and he gets really aggressive and abusive and weird, and I don't like it. But they have one of those where he's like, I can't control myself. I could hurt you. And she's like, you'll never hurt me. I know you won't. You can do this. And then the final shot of the episode is like Stefan losing his mind over a glass of human blood. So he can't do this. It's not going well. So now that we know that Stefan is definitely drinking human blood, we get to see kind of the effects that that's having on him. We knew from Damon that it makes you, more powerful. It makes you feel better. It's like the best way for the vampires to be living. Now we're seeing that on Stefan. So he's like overconfident, sleazy, very like full of himself, just oozing like, I'm a cool guy. Aren't I so cool? And Elena is like, ooh, new Stefan. I love this version of you. Girl, he's gross now. We also learn pretty quickly that somebody has been stealing blood from the blood bank, like a lot of blood. The council is concerned. So Damon obviously thinks it's Anna and Pearl because Stefan has told him he's not drinking people blood. So when Anna comes over and like apologizes for her mom, Damon's like, I'm upset with you. You guys stole the blood. And she's like, no, all the vampires left town. It's just me, my mom, and Harper. We didn't take the blood. So then Damon confronts Stefan and he's like, did you take the blood from the blood bank? And Stefan is like, no, of course not. I am clean and sober. And Damon is like, you're a big fat lying liar. Bonnie comes back to town with a new haircut. She's a little bit edgier now. Something's definitely off with Bonnie, but she won't tell Elena what it is. We find out that like while Bonnie's been gone, Caroline's been talking to her every day, even though Elena was like, oh, I thought you didn't want to talk. I thought you needed time alone. It's also time for the Founders Day, like ball situation. So the girls are part of, well, Caroline and Elena are part of a Founders Day Court, which is like a big pageant where they're going to pick Miss Mystic Falls. That is a tongue twister. John goes to Damon and is like, look, I need you to help me because I'm not telling on you guys, so you need to give me something. And he says that there's some invention that Pearl took from Jonathan Gilbert. And Damon is immediately like, okay, it's the compass. I'm not giving you that. And John is like, get it for me or else. We cut to the kids learning the dance that I just mentioned, which is like the Founders Court dance situation. And they're doing the thing where they do the like almost touch and like circle each other with their hands. And Stefan's being really weird and sleazy and trying to like spin Elena around and like get closer to her. And the mayor's wife is like, excuse me, this is about the intimacy of the near touch. And Stefan is like, that is so overrated. Okay, Stefan. Elena goes to Bonnie finally and like gets her alone and is like, what's wrong? What's going on? And Bonnie admits that because Grams is gone, she just doesn't feel comfortable with Stefan and Damon anymore because she thinks it's their fault. She blames them for what happened. But she's also like, I love you and I'm not going to make you pick between me and Stefan. So I'm just taking myself out of the equation. I don't think we can be friends anymore. John and Jeremy talk about the Gilbert journals. Jeremy's like super interested in it, and John seems really excited that Jeremy wants to know more. Almost like he's like planning to pass down info for him and like wants him involved in some way, which we've kind of heard the families hint at that, where it's like history is important. We have to pass things down to you. Like they're planning on the kids one day being the council and like taking over the protection of the town. Anna and Jeremy talk and he spills the beans that he took Elena's journal and knows everything. And he basically is like, I don't think it's fair for you to be upset with me because I wanted to turn for Vicky when you wanted me to wake your mom up and you were planning on killing me. Like that's the only reason why you were friends with me. And Anna ends up saying that like, yes, that's how it started, but now she really, really does like him and she wants them to like be friends and maybe be more than that and be together for real. It's a confusing, complicated relationship. Pearl is definitely like anti-Jeremy. Damon sneaks up to where Elena's getting ready for the ball and tells her that Stefan is drinking human blood. She freaks out, and then Stefan comes in, and Damon's like, oh, cat's out of the bag. Bye, brother. I gotta go. And he leaves. Stefan and Elena get into an argument where Stefan once again is just like, I'm fine. You don't have to worry about me. Leave me alone. And Elena's like, I'm super worried about you. You're really unhealthy. This can't be good. Stefan ends up attacking and like grabbing one of the girls that's supposed to be in the pageant, and they just like dip out. And that scene with him, it's like interspersed throughout the rest of the episode. It's again so gross and weird and abusive, and he like plays with her and like messes with her emotions in a really creepy way where, like, I know Damon did similar things. You guys are just gonna have to trust me. It's different when Stefan does it. Stefan is like, he's mean on purpose. Like, he's just really cruel and creepy. Because Stefan's off playing with that little blonde child, Elena goes down the stairs and is about to start her dance, and Stefan's not there to escort her. So Damon steps in. I love this aspect of their relationship because we know from the whole time we've known Elena and Stefan that Elena loves to dance. And Stefan is a good dancer, but he hates to dance. Damon loves dancing. So they have this amazing time. Like, this scene is so iconic. It's one of my favorites. And that aspect of like their relationship, dancing being a part of like what they do together, is going to carry through for literally the entire rest of the series, and I love that for them. So this whole moment with the like almost touching and everything, it's very smoldery. And also on my rewatch, god, this was so funny, he is like squinting at her and doing his like sexy smolder face, but he's also like frantically blinking because they are in like straight sunlight, and this man has beautiful blue eyes. So he is struggling through this scene, and it made me wonder how often he's squinting because the lights are too bright. Like, how much of it is not Damon like making his eyebrow face, and how much of it is just Ian can't see. Caroline wins Miss Mystic Falls. Yay! Claps for Caroline. We love her. Damon and Elena realize that Stefan's missing, realize that the girl is missing. They go after him. Bonnie sees them leaving and then also follows, and Bonnie ends up using the aneurysm spell to like stop Stefan from hurting the girl. So they get all of that handled. The girl is okay. He didn't kill her. He did feed off of her, but he didn't kill her. So she's going to be okay. Damon handles it with Caroline's mom, Liz. And then Bonnie and Elena have another moment where Bonnie's like, look, I'm telling you, you have to stay away from me. Like, we have to be done. We can't be friends anymore. When we're together and we're around these boys, people die, and I can't do it anymore. Girl goes to Damon and she's like, look, dude, peace offering. The invention that I took from Gilbert, Jonathan Gilbert, the ancestor, was not the compass like I thought it was. It was whatever this thing is. And she hands him this like secondary invention. And she's like, I have no idea what it does. I don't know what it is. I never got to ask him. It's yours. My daughter and I just want to live here in peace. Please leave us alone. Not sure what happened here, but we're missing a bit of footage. The ending of this episode is Elena going to Stefan, Stefan freaking out on her, getting really abusive. He like slams her into the wall and then like slaps the wall near her head to tell her to leave him alone because he's dangerous. And then he like immediately breaks down and starts crying. It's giving abusive boyfriend. I don't love it. I don't enjoy that moment. But Elena, she handles it really well, and then she stakes him with a vervain needle and knocks him out. Damon comes and gets him. They lock him in the basement. Basically, they're planning on detoxing him because clearly he's got a problem. This episode is a lot of flashbacks because Stefan is under the effects of the vervain. So he's like detoxing, coming off the human blood, and he's like in and out of like sleep and consciousness. So we're going to get a lot of his memories coming back to him in these moments. A lot of shots of like Catherine and Elena, being confused. So we get a little bit more about the night that Catherine died. The boys met up with each other after their dad had taken Catherine, and they're like, okay, we got to get her out. They make a plan. They get to her carriage. They get Catherine out of the carriage, free her, get her muzzle off and everything. And then almost immediately, they're both shot and they die. So now we know that's how the boys died. They were shot by somebody in the hunting party, and then Catherine was recaptured and taken to the church. The boys end up waking up, and Emily Bennett is there, and she's like, we found you in the woods. I took you to safety. You guys are in transition now. And Stefan is like, what do you mean we're in transition? Like, I should be dead. And she's like, Stefan, Catherine was compelling you to drink her blood for weeks now. And Stefan's like, what about Damon? And he just means like, is Damon also alive or is he dead? Like, what happened? And Emily goes, oh, Damon didn't need to be compelled. He's been drinking from her freely like this whole time. In modern times, Damon's trying to figure out that weird special new invention thing. He cannot figure out what it is. Damon and Elena are like absolutely bonding. They're spending a ton of time together because they're both like on Stefan babysitting duty. So she's been like staying the night at the house repeatedly. They're getting closer. Their friendship is growing. They're starting to like tease each other, and it's not super aggressive and hateful every time they do it now. Anna signs up for school and is going to school with Jeremy now, so they're like officially a couple. Stefan is awake now, and he just completely flat out refuses the animal blood that Damon's giving him. John confronts Elena when she's on her way back over to the Salvatore house after school, and he's like, "You're going again? Like, what are you doing? You're spending a lot of time over there." And she's like, "Whatever, John, you're not my dad." And he's like, "I think it's time you stop pretending you don't know what's going on here. Like, you should know that I also know." And she's like, "Know what, John?" And he's like, "What would your mother say about you dating a vampire?" And she rocks back with, "Which mother?" Rick and Damon have a lead on somebody that's been communicating with John. So they think they've maybe found Isabel. When they go to that house apartment thing to look for her, they can get inside. So that means there's not a living person living there. So Damon's like able to come in. They end up finding a vampire named Henry who was from the Tomb Vampires, and they don't really get any information from him. He says he doesn't know Isabel, he only knows John. John's been helping him. John was like getting him set up to like start over his new life. And then John calls, and Damon is like, "Oh, can I answer it? I need to talk to John." And Henry is like, "Sure." And then when he hands him the phone, Damon doesn't answer it, and Rick kills Henry. So that's literally it. Henry's only in like one scene. Elena goes into the cell with Stefan because she's like, "You have to eat. This is ridiculous. You can't keep wasting away over what? Guilt for hurting me? I'm fine. You need to get over it." And Stefan is like, "It's not just you. It's like all these things I've done." And he tells her that in the 1800s, Damon convinced him, "Okay, Catherine's gone. We're going to die." But Stefan wanted to say goodbye to their dad because he loved his father. He trusted his dad. So he goes to his dad and he's like, "I'm in transition. I'm not going to complete my turn. Like, I'm going to die. I just wanted to say goodbye to you." And his dad just like ruins it because he gets all aggressive and mean. And he says that like Stefan's a monster now and they're not his sons. And he's like, "Also, I'm the one that shot you guys. Like, I'm the reason why you're dead. Like, I'll just finish you. I'll just stake you and you'll be done." They get into like a little scuffle, and Stefan doesn't realize how strong he is yet because him and Damon haven't been testing stuff. So he hurts his dad and ends up getting his dad's blood on his hands. And then he like eats his dad. And so Stefan turns into a vampire. Elena is like unfazed by the story, and she's like, "You have to be able to tell me these things that happened to you. We have to be able to talk. When you're ready to forgive yourself, I'll be upstairs." And she gives him his daylight ring and then leaves the cell door open because she's an idiot. Damon comes home. He like plops down on the couch with Elena. She puts her feet up in his lap. So once again, I'm telling you, they're getting closer. They're becoming like genuine friends. It's really cute. And she kind of immediately jumps on him and is like, Stefan might have done things in the past that he regrets, but you didn't make it any better by like guilting him into feeling bad about all of this. This is partially your fault." And Damon is like, "Oh, interesting. So he didn't tell you that I didn't want to turn, and he went and killed our dad, and then he came back to me with a poor human girl from town and forced me to drink from her. He didn't tell you that part, Elena?" So that's when we learned that. So like Damon was like fully ready to die and not be a vampire, and Stefan completely coerces him. So he is like, from the jump, Stefan is the bad brother, the like snarky, overconfident, mean, cruel, controlling vampire. And Damon is the one that's like, "This isn't what I want. I wanted this for love. I don't want to be a vampire for just fun." I could do a whole video about the parallels between vampire Catherine and Stefan and human Elena and Damon, because as couples, those they make such good sense. And then Stefan spends so much time pretending like he's not this awful, like mean person, but he is. Like his root instincts and like who he is, he's not a good person. Whereas Damon, at his core, is really good and has like been corrupted by all of this stuff. When Elena goes to find Stefan, she just finds his ring and they realize that he's run off, and it sends everybody into a panic. Anna goes to Jeremy to say goodbye because she's made the decision with her mom that it's just not safe to be in town with so many people knowing who they are and threatening them. But then when she goes back to the house to get her mom and leave, she finds Pearl and Harper both dead, and we figure out that John killed them. Stefan went to the lake where he woke up with Damon and Emily, and they were turning, and that's where he was like planning to barbecue himself in the morning. Elena comes to confront him about it, and again, they have like their third similar conversation of the episode where he's just like, I'm a monster, you can't trust me. And she's like, I love you, I'll always love you, please come home with me. It's a cute moment, but again, like, I just think there's so much that like Stefan never really does a good job of explaining to her, and she's so blinded by loving him that she just doesn't get it. When Stefan gets home, he talks to Damon a little bit, and Damon is like, you really need to quit carrying my guilt around as if it's your guilt, because the stuff I've done is the stuff I've done. So he does admit in that moment that like he does feel guilty over certain things he's done in his past, but they're in the past and he just doesn't dwell on them the way that Stefan like lets everything consume him. So they have a nice little heart-to-heart moment too. We cut to Rick at the grill, and freaking Isabel shows up and she's absolutely a vampire, and Rick is not handling it well. Okay, so if you thought this was a Stefan slander account, the reality is this is an Isabel slander account. I can't stand her. She is one of my least favorite characters. I don't know if it's just like the actress and her portrayal, or if it's just Isabel as a character. I don't know what it is. I don't like any of it. Anytime she is on screen, I am like viscerally annoyed by her. So she shows up and she's super nonchalant with Rick, and she's just like, "Hi Rick, you were never supposed to look for me. You were just supposed to like forget about me, mourn me a little bit, and then move on." And he's like, "You were my wife, dude. I loved you." And she's like, "That's so cute of you to say." She's so annoying. She tells him that she wants to meet with Elena and she's expecting him to organize that for her. She also like super threatens him and like is violent with him. John meets up with Isabel at her house in town and finds her with her little two human playthings. She has a jazz singer that she picked up in New Orleans that's a girl, and then the boy that she has, she's like, he's a gay cowboy, I found him at a cowboy bar. And John is like, he's gay? And she's like, well, not right now, he's not. So we don't like that. We don't like that at all. She also calls John a hater in this scene. Like, she's literally like, John, you're such a hater, which is something that Anna also called John to Jeremy in an earlier episode. I didn't tell you guys about it then. I'm telling you about it now because now this is 2 times that the word hater has been used unironically. These girls are being completely serious when they look these dudes in the eye and say, oh my God, John is such a hater. Elena agrees to meet with Isabel after Rick comes and explains everything to her. So she goes to the grill to meet her, and Stefan also comes to like listen in from like a safe distance. Isabel is the worst, and she's really mean to Elena. She's like, I had no intention of ever getting to know you. I don't want anything to do with you. That's not why I'm here. I'm here because I need you to get me the device that Damon has, that Pearl gave Damon, and I need him to give that to me. I need it. And Elena's like, he's not going to give it to me. And Isabel's like, absolutely he will, because he's in love with you, you dumb human girl. And she also like won't tell Elena who her dad is. She's like, he was a waste of space when I was a teenager. It literally doesn't matter. So she's like no help to Elena on the finding out information front. She just wants things. While they're inside, Rick and Damon are outside, like trying to keep everybody safe, even though they can't go in. And Rick is like, I just don't understand how she's so cold all of a sudden. Like, this isn't my wife. And Damon explains the humanity, like, switch. They call it a humanity switch for the first time. And this is how the vampires, like, turn their emotions on and off. They call it, like, a switch. Like, they can just control if they feel human emotions or if they're just fully vampire. And Isabel very clearly is either faking it really well or has her humanity switch flipped so that she's just like full vampire, and that's why she's so callous and mean. Damon goes to see Isabel and he ends up like flirting with her, trying to get information out of her. She like plays with him back and they don't really get anywhere with any of that. And then she ends up kissing him. They kiss for a second. Then he like attacks her and like holds her down and he's like, now that I have your attention, don't ever threaten Elena again or I'll kill you. And he can do that because he's older than her, so he's stronger. And she's just kind of like freaked out by the fact that she scared Damon. Bonnie ends up going to Elena because when Elena freaked out after seeing Isabella the girl, she was like crying. Bonnie saw her, but then also saw Stefan, so she bolted. So now she comes to Elena while Elena's alone and she's like, I'm so sorry. Please tell me what's going on. You're my best friend. I miss you. I don't want to be around Stefan and I have been sick over not talking to you this whole time. So Elena tells her everything. Bonnie also helps Elena figure out that the Gilbert device that they've been looking for, the one that Pearl gave to Damon, is a vampire killing device. And so they're all kind of confused on why Isabel would want that when it's a device that could kill Isabel. Town is getting ready for the big fair that's going to be like the Founders Day fair, which is the final episode. That's what we've been building to with all these like Founders Day events. So they're at the fair getting ready for that. They're like building the different floats and things. And Isabel shows up. She threatens Elena again. Then she points out that she knows who all of Elena's favorite people are. And she's like, Matt is like the sweet little human. Like, wouldn't it be a shame if the cart he was working on just fell on him? And then it does. And Matt gets like pinned under the cart and everybody has to help him. And then Isabella's like, next time, maybe I'll just kill Jeremy. And Elena's like, what do you mean? And she looks to see where Jeremy is. Jeremy's gone. She looks back. Isabel is gone. Isabel has kidnapped Jeremy. When John tries to intervene and get Jeremy back, Isabel freaks out on him. She takes his ring and then has him beaten to like near death so that she can just keep John and Jeremy there together. Bonnie makes a plan now that Jeremy's in danger to take away the spell on the device so that then they could give it to Isabel, but it would be useless for whatever it is that she's planning to use it for. Elena and Isabel meet up to do the swap, and when Elena's like, where's Jeremy? You have to give him to me or I'm not giving you the invention, Isabel tells her to call home, and when she does, she figures out that Jeremy and John are home safe with Aunt Jenna and everything is fine. There's a lot of J's in this family. Elena ends up giving the invention over to Isabel. Isabel disappears. Stefan and Elena have a little hug, and then over Stefan's shoulder, Elena and Damon like make intense eye contact, and then Stefan is like, what are you looking at, brother? And looks at him too, and then Damon's like, absolutely nothing, and he like walks away all awkwardly because now they all know that Isabel was like, Damon's in love with you, and Elena did not deny it, nor did Damon. No one said anything. It was just awkward silence. Jeremy confronts Elena about the fact that they've been lying to each other about stuff, and he's like not okay with everything that's happened, which, I mean, rightfully, like they violated him a lot with the like taking his memories and stuff. Even though Elena meant it from a good place, Jeremy's really upset with her, and that conversation doesn't really go anywhere. It just ends with Jeremy being like, just get out of my room. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Leave me alone. Isabel goes to the school to see Rick, and she's like happy to see him. She's really like weird and teasing him, and she's like, I see this for you. Look at you in this little school working, being a human. I'm so happy for you. And he's like, can you cut the crap, because I can tell that this isn't real. Like, you're lying to me about this. And he takes his ring off and like throws it at her, and he's just like, either kill me or compel me, because I don't believe that you're telling me the truth and I'm over it. Okay, I don't want to see you again. Leave me alone. So she like jumps on him and is just like, you're not going to remember any of this, but I do love you and I am sorry. I needed to be a vampire and I regret it, and it's like the biggest mistake I've ever made. And then she like puts the ring on his finger again, and she's like, you have to wear this. You have to stay safe. Goodbye, Rick. And she leaves. It will not be the last time we see her, but she's gone for now at least. Anna shows up crying in Jeremy's room. He's been trying to find her all episode, but she's been hiding because, you know, her mom died. She had stuff to handle. So she tells him that she's so sorry. She didn't know where else to go, but she knows like she can't be in the Gilbert house because John is trying to kill her, and he did kill her mom. So Jeremy comforts her, and they have a cute little moment together. Stefan confronts Damon about the fact that Damon is probably in love with Elena. Damon brushes it off. Stefan is like, history will not repeat itself. And Damon is like, I mean, sure, whatever you say. Absolutely, it won't. Also, by the way, John's Elena's dad. Why is no one as smart as me? Isabel drops off John's ring on the front porch along with the invention, and she's like, "You know what you have to do. Handle this. I don't want to have to come back." And John is like, "I know, I know." And she's like, "Look, I want you to kill all of the tomb vampires just like Catherine wanted, but also I want you to kill Stefan and Damon." And he's like, "Don't worry, that was already on my list. I'm not letting them stay anywhere near Elena." And she's like, "Great, wonderful, awesome. She's our daughter, John. We have to protect her." And John's like, "I know." So, confirmation, Elena's real parents are Jonathan Gilbert and Isabel, the scary vampire lady. Then we cut to Bonnie and Caroline talking about how Bonnie lied to Elena and she's super upset about it. And then, without telling Caroline anything, Caroline just listens to this story. Bonnie implies that she, in fact, did not take the spell off the invention. She just told Elena she did, which means that now the vampire killers have a weapon to kill vampires, and we only have one episode left. Final episode of the season opens with the big Founders Day parade fair situation. I told you, the Founders Day events are my favorite events because they make the most sense as far as like actual things that this town that's like historical would celebrate. So the kids are all getting ready. Elena, Caroline, Matt, Stefan, they're in the Founders Day court. So they're dressed up in like 1800s clothes, which means that Elena looks freaking just like Catherine. The boys are arguing about whether or not Damon loves Elena and like back and forth on that, teasing each other. And then Elena walks up in her like Catherine costume, and both of them like short circuit while they're looking at her. You just see both of them be like, "Oh no." And then it cuts to her. And for whatever reason, the way she plays that scene is her being like, "Mhm, and doing like a weird Catherine smirk at the two of them. And I'm like, "Girl, quit playing with them." But she really is. There's something about the 1800s dress that makes her turn into Catherine Pierce. Anna gives Jeremy a vial of her blood, and she's like, "Look, it's not safe here. Your uncle is a crazy vampire killer, and he killed everybody, and he's going to try to kill me. But why don't we turn you, and then you and I can run away together?" And Jeremy is like very sad that her mom is dead, but he also kind of understands where John was coming from as far as like that's what John believes is true, and he's never been exposed to anything else. So Jeremy's like second guessing like whether or not he wants to be a vampire, all of that, and before he can like explain it all to Anna, she just dips because she does not handle rejection well. Stefan bombs Elena with the John is your dad knowledge because he's afraid that Damon is going to tell her. And he's like, "Do you want to go talk to him right now?" And she's like, "Right before the fair starts, Stefan? No, actually, I don't. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to talk to him about it. Thanks for telling me." John brings the device to the mayor and explains that it is like a little frequency, like a high frequency sound machine, and it'll work for about 5 minutes. It'll be long enough for all the vampires to be exposed, and then they'll be able to grab them and kill them. And the mayor is like, "How do you know that there's going to be a lot of vampires around here tonight?" That's when John says that Henry, the tomb vampire that Rick and Damon killed, was his contact with the tomb vampires, and Henry told him everything and said that they were going to attack during the fireworks at the Founders Day parade. Liz, the sheriff, is like, "This is a terrible idea. All of our families are here tonight. They're coming after the founding families. We should not be using our children as bait. This is a bad, bad plan. We should stop." The mayor leaves the room, and John just like knocks Liz out and chains her up to her desk so that they can just do the plan without her, even though she's the freaking sheriff. Elena tells Damon that she likes being his friend. She really appreciates his friendship. He has to stop flirting with her because he's making it weird. And he like agrees. He's like, "Yeah, okay, I'll stop." But like he's just inherently flirty, so we know he's not going to stop. And also we know he likes her, so he's like really not going to stop. But then she goes up to Jeremy and is just like, "Jeremy, I love you. You're my brother. I know you don't want anything to do with me. Please, can we talk about this? What can I do to make this up to you?" And Jeremy looks her right in the eyes and is like, "You can go to hell, Elena." So Damon follows him outside and is like, "Look, little Gilbert, you are a jerk and you need to be mad at me, not Elena, because I'm the one who took your memories. It was me, okay? Leave Elena alone, cut her some slack." And Jeremy's like, "Let go of me or I will make a scene." And then Stefan shows up and is like, "What my brother means to say." And like, Stefan explains the situation to Jeremy, and Jeremy just kind of brushes everybody off and is like, "Leave me alone. I'm mad at Elena. You guys can suck it." Once it's dark, Anna shows up and she says that she was faking being a part of the tomb vampire attack. She just wanted to get information. Now that she knows that they're attacking at the fireworks, she's like, "Damon, we have to get everybody. We have to gather the Gilberts and we have to go." And he's like, "Absolutely. Say less. Go get Jeremy. Let's get out of here." The mayor freaks out on Tyler in the grill and slaps him in public because Tyler didn't go home when the mayor told him to. And the mayor is like, "You have to get out of here right now. Take Matt and Caroline, all of you, get in the vehicle, go home." And so they yeet out, even though they don't really understand what's going on. And the vampires like surround the crowd. We see them like intermingling. Their plan is basically to definitely kill the founding families, but just kill as many people from the town, if not the entire town. That's the goal of the evening, is to just wreck Mystic Falls. Damon confronts John and is like, "Do you have any idea what you're doing? Like, so many people are gonna die." And he seems like he's probably gonna try to get the device or stop John from using the device, even though he thinks it doesn't work. John is like, "Oh, Damon, I know exactly what I'm doing." He turns the device on. Damon immediately drops. Outside, Stefan drops. He's with Elena, trying to get Elena to safety. In the bathroom at the grill, Anna was trying to protect Jeremy. She goes down. The mayor goes down with his wife, and she's like, "What's going on with my husband? He's not a vampire. What is this?" In the car, Matt, Caroline, and Tyler freaks out and is like, "What is that noise? What's happening?" He has like a freaking complete fit and crashes the car, and they get in a horrible car accident. Cops start surrounding everybody who's gone down. They try to get Stefan, but Rick shows up and he's like, "I got this one. I got this one." And he like gives the cop a stake and he's like, "Vampire hunter to vampire hunter, you go get another one. I'll handle this one." He helps Elena get Stefan like hidden down the stairs, and he's just like, "I don't know what's going on, but like the device must be working. Bonnie didn't remove the spell." So then they're all devastated because that means Bonnie lied to them. And also, all the vampires are being plucked off, which means Stefan and Damon are targets. We see all of the vampires that have been kidnapped. They've been like vervained and then taken to the basement of the Gilbert doctor office because it's like an abandoned building right in the heart of town. Damon is there. So is Anna. Damon like half wakes up and sees Anna. John recognizes Anna and just stakes her for the heck of it, just to do it. And so Anna's dead. We just lose Anna right then and there. Then John starts pouring gas on everybody and he lights the place up. So Damon is alive, but in a burning building at this point. Damon looks around and sees the mayor and he's like, "What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here." And the mayor's like, "What are you doing here?" And Damon's like, "Well, surprise, surprise, I'm a vampire. What exactly is your excuse?" The mayor like won't tell him. He just like pushes himself, tries to drag himself out. Another vampire grabs the mayor and then just kills him. And Damon is just sitting there like, "Nice." After the car crash, Tyler is unconscious. Caroline is like definitely in shock, and Matt is just like, "You need to get help." And she's like, "No, we need to check on Tyler." They're working on Tyler. They lift his eye to like check his eye, and his eyes do this weird like "Wah!" thing where like the pupil dilates and colors burst behind like his iris. And the guy helping him is like, "Whoa, what the heck was that?" And then Caroline passes out. So Tyler's awake and alive, and something. Stefan can hear the vampires burning in the basement, so they go to try and get him inside so he can try to get Damon out. Uncle John stops them and then is basically like, "Go ahead, Stefan. You'll never both get out. Like, it'll take you two. I'll just won't have to worry about killing you. Go ahead." And Stefan runs off. And then Elena tries to follow him, and John is like, "One more step, and I will tell everyone that I missed a vampire, and then we'll kill your boyfriends." And she's like, "You're so mean. Like, why are you doing this? What's the point?" And he's like, "I don't care that you like them. It doesn't matter to me that you think they're good." And she hits him with, "Well, as my father, I think it should matter to you." And he is so stunned that she knows that he just like doesn't fight back and he lets her run off after Stefan. So Stefan and Elena get to the back door of the doctor's office and they're going to go inside, but the fire is really bad. So Stefan goes in anyway, even though he knows he's going to die. There's no way they're both going to get out, but he goes in and he's like, "I have to try. He's my brother." Bonnie shows up and she like grabs onto Elena It's not super clear why. I feel like it's one of those red herrings where, like, it will sort of make sense later, but it's almost like Bonnie uses Elena as like an anchor point to draw power from to tame the fire long enough for Stefan to get in, get Damon, and get out. But it is not explained why she holds on to Elena in that moment, but she does. So the boys get out, everybody lives. After all of this, we get a little scene of Elena assuring Stefan that, like, yes, she wanted Damon to be saved, but it doesn't mean she likes Damon. She is in love with Stefan, and Stefan has nothing to worry about, and he needs to calm down. Then she tells him, I'm going to go get my stuff from the school, and I'm going to go home. I need to go check on Jeremy. Damon goes directly to Jeremy to tell him that Anna is dead. And Jeremy's like, okay, I assumed like when they took her, but thank you for telling me. Damon explains that he watched her die, and he was like, it's the weirdest thing. Like, I wished that I could help her in that moment, but I couldn't. So again, we're seeing little bits and pieces of like Damon's humanity and like his kindness and the heart that he actually has inside of him. And he talks to Jeremy about how he took his pain once, he could take his pain again. And Jeremy is like, I know you guys think that you took it from me, but you didn't like take the feeling away. So Jeremy's still sad and empty and lonely. He just couldn't remember why he was feeling that way. Damon says that he knows what he did to Vicky was wrong and he's really sorry. And then as he's finally going to leave, Jeremy is like, you know, they said the humanity switch can be turned on and off. Does that make life easier? Like, does it make it suck less? And Damon is like, dude, life always sucks. But when you're a vampire, at least you can like choose not to feel how bad it all is. And yeah, it helps, but it doesn't make anything go away. So they definitely have like a trauma understanding for each other. But Damon does not have a good sense of reading people. So he leaves Jeremy with that information, and Jeremy almost immediately downs Anna's blood and then takes all the pain pills that Elena used, that Vicky took from Elena, those same pills. He takes all of them to try to hopefully die and turn into a vampire. At the hospital, we find out that Caroline has internal bleeding and is like not doing good. She's definitely on the verge of dying. She's in surgery. And so Matt is devastated, Liz is devastated, and then Liz turns to Tyler and she's like, "Did you talk to your mom yet?" And he's like, well, I left her a message. I said I was sorry I missed her call." And Liz is like, "You should call your mom, Tyler. It's about your dad." Bonnie goes to Stefan and tells him that she only saved them because Elena is her best friend and she couldn't let them die knowing what that would do to Elena. But if Damon kills anybody else in town, Bonnie will be taking him out on her own. And Stefan better not stand in her way or she'll take them both out. Bloodstream by Stateless starts playing. This is one of my favorite scenes in the entire show, okay? That song starts playing. Elena walks into the shot. She's carrying all the things she told Stefan she was going to go get from school. She walks up the steps of her house. Damon comes outside. Damon is like, "Yeah, I just tried to do the right thing with your brother, but it didn't work that well." They have a little moment. He's like, "Let me take those things you're holding." He then takes them and just sets them down on the porch. They keep talking, and he says that he came to the town to destroy the town. And yet today, he wanted to protect the town, which is weird for him because he's not the good guy, he's not the hero, and yet somewhere along the line, she started believing he was good and worth saving, and that's the only reason why Bonnie saved him. So he thanks her for that. Then he leans in, he gives her a little kiss on the cheek. It's a very sweet moment, and say what you want, I strongly believe that's all he was going to do, and then he was going to walk away. But when he pulls back, Elena looks at him and they have a moment and then they freaking kiss each other and they kiss. It's a moment, okay? It is like a whole, he grabs her face, she leans into it. It's a thing. Jenna opens the door and Elena is not embarrassed. Elena is kind of just like, "Oh, Jenna, oh my gosh." Damon is like, "Yikes, okay, I gotta go." Jenna is like, "Get inside, Elena, come inside right now." And Elena's like, "Absolutely." So she goes in. when Jenna shuts the door and turns around, she's like, "What the heck was that? What are you doing?" And Elena's like, "Look, Jenna, I don't want to talk about it." Cut to John in the Gilbert kitchen. He shuts the fridge and Elena's like waiting there for him. And he's like, "Oh, Elena, you scared me." And she's like, "I'm sorry. Sorry." She starts like putting the dishes away and he doesn't leave. He starts talking to her. He starts telling her about Isabel and how part of the reason why he hates the vampires so much is because Isabel was so hurt by turning into one, which we know is true because Isabel told Rick she regretted being a vampire. So John's kind of trying to like make peace and explain himself. And he's just like, "So I hope you understand, you know." And Elena like kind of brushes him off, but she's listening, but you can tell she's kind of hurt over the whole thing. Like she doesn't really want to talk to him. So he's like, "Okay, well, can I help you with the dishes?" And she's like, "Oh, yeah, absolutely." Then she proceeds to cut off his fingers without warning. So the big, clunky, ugly ring, gone, no longer an issue. Then she just throws him up against the fridge and stabs him. And he's just like, "Catherine?" And she goes, "Hello, John. Bye, John," and stabs him again. It was Catherine the whole time. So it was Catherine on the porch with Damon, which when you go back and watch the scene again, you will see it too. Because when Damon first kisses her, she has this weird, like feral reaction to it, and then she goes in for the second kiss that is just absolutely not how Elena would react. And then remember how I said when Jenna opened the door and Elena was like not surprised or embarrassed, she was like kind of just annoyed? That's because it was Catherine, okay? So then the real Elena shows up at the front of the house and she's like, "Oh, Stefan, somebody took my stuff from the school. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know." She hears a kerfuffle from the kitchen. It's Uncle John making a groaning noise of pain because he's just been stabbed. And she's like, "Oh, what was that?" She hangs up on Stefan and waltzes down the hallway towards the kitchen. And that, my friends, is the freaking end of season 2. Is Catherine still in the house? Is Elena safe? Is John gonna die? Stay freaking tuned. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the end of season 2. I will be back in about a week and a half, 2 weeks, with the next episode that'll be going over the first half of season 3. I'm going to see if I can get them down into one episode per season, but I don't want the videos to be crazy, crazy long. So we'll just see how it goes. But I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you enjoyed. Please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. And I'll see you guys so soon. Bye.